Yo, boys, back with another video. Today, we're going to be doing the good old-fashioned class tuning for this coming Tuesday, the 23rd January. I did just wake up, so my voice might be a little bit different, but I looked over these a little bit, and I'm not gonna lie, I do disagree with some of these, but I'm gonna go over what I disagree with real quick before we start here. Rogue, I thought rogue damage was fine. You can only die on blades. The problem is the rogue couldn't die because Vanish reset every CD. What it should do is CDR or your Vanish should reset your blades, and that's it. So, um, the problem with Rogue was not its damage. Its damage is fine. If you just live on their blades go, if you just like trade, you cannot die to a sub. It's not possible. It doesn't matter what you're playing. If you click CDs on like it can't just be, oh, I'm gonna trinket and then I'm fine. You have to, trinket then use. You have to use two CDs and then you are perfectly fine. So the problem was not its damage, it was its survivability. People were annoyed because of how it was impossible to kill a rogue. Because they'd have two vanishes, and then their vanishes would reset all their CDs, so they'd have like two evasions, and then by the time you get to their two evasions, then they have just a lot of CDs. So that was the problem. So the damage was not the problem at all. Nobody was complaining about sub-rogue damage. They were complaining about its survivability and how annoying it was. But that's always sub-rogue. So I disagree with that. They definitely shouldn't have touched the damage. They should have just definitely touched the CDR and the cooldown from the PvP or the PvP talent that resets your I think it's like your vanish and your blades. It should always reset your blades, but it should never it should not be resetting anything else. It should be resetting your blades and that's it. And your shadow dance. So your shadow dance and your blades. Nothing else. Because you need a shadow dance and that's about it. So shadow dance, blades, that's what should have been fixed. But we're gonna go with the video here. Blood DK I don't really care about. Frosty get all damage dealt increased by 4%, not implied PvP combat. RIP for you guys. All damage dealt by your pet's abilities increased by, nope, not in PvP combat. Not applied, not implied, not implied, not implied. Lunar inspiration damage increased by 10%. That's not going to do much, I don't think. Repent Furiosity damage increased by 25%. I don't even know what this is. And if I don't know what it is, it's probably not too crazy. Um, they actually buffed Resto Druid mana, I think. So Swiftwind now costs 1.4 mana. It was 1.6, so yeah, that's a buff. Uh, Grove Guardian was 1%, now it's 1.2. Wild Growth now costs 3.8, it was 4%. Regrowth costs 2.8, was yeah, so they're getting a buff on their mana, which I thought they were already. I mean, honestly, on a Arrested Root, unless you get drinks, your mana goes down really quick. So I can kind of see it. The problem is when they cancel their trees and they go behind a corner and they can just drink, because that's all you do is you save your racial, you right click the trees off, and then you can drink after you put hots on everybody, and that's the problem where you're allowed to just do that and nobody can stop you. So that was the issue. I think if they just put like if you have a bleed on you or something, you shouldn't be able to drink, but that'd be I don't know. Survivability here. All damage dealt by Hunter and Hunter's pets abilities increased by 4%, so survival got a buff. Dealt by Hunter and Hunter's pet. So both of them got a buff. So their pets got a buff and they did. Holy, I still don't understand how Holy just doesn't get any healing buffs like at all. It just the amount of like delusion. You can tell that H-Spell's good when it comes to utility and it's kiting, but when it comes down to actual healing, it's probably the worst spec in the game for healing purposes. It's probably as bad as like Holy Priest. Like it's unbelievably bad. Like it's just you're not able to out heal pressure. You're just able to like counter it with utility. Like once it goes down to like 30, 40%, you're having an insane like everyone else is able to heal, you're just able to like pull out utility. So if they like maybe like nerf down the utility, maybe make a sack 2 minutes, maybe make like honestly I would even say take off a bop out of the game. Like I don't think you should have two bops to be honest. If they gave them pure healing, I don't think they deserve the utility that they're getting. And then obviously buff their mana. So you nerf the utility, buff the mana and the healing, and make it a healing spec and not just a oh I'm gonna pop up two bops, one sec, land hands, but I got bubble, I got trinket. It's just like God. So we're gonna do the next one here. Ret got a big buff. Wake of Ashes damage increased by 20%. Truth Wake damage increased by 28%. Um, Seething Flames increased by 28%. Blade of Justice damage increased by 20%. Final Verdict damage increased by 10%. So Ret was at the point where it was good, but it wasn't. It was lacking the damage. To actually like, because like I said, a Ret needs to be able to. Every burst reliant spec needs to be able to kill in between their Haj go on every CD. If you click zero CDs and you don't click, if you don't trade your main CDs with their main CDs, you deserve to die 100-0 in a Haj. Every single burst spec in the game that's reliant on burst, like MM Hunter, Sub Rogue, Enhancement Shaman, Windwalker, Ret Paladin. Is there any others that I'm missing here? Like those specific classes have to be able to do that. Otherwise, they're not playable classes. So, but this is actually a good buff. Now it might be a little bit too much. I mean, they were doing pretty decent damage. I mean, they were already an A tier spec, so they're probably going to go up to an S tier depending on. I mean, this is a big buff, so we'll have to see. Holy Priest is getting some good old fashioned Leviante. Holy Word sanctifies, healing increased by 25%. That's a big buff. Heals healing increased by 25%. That's a big buff. So that's that one heal that takes a while to cast, but 25%. I mean, that's a big buff. That could be hitting for like 2 to 300k heals. So flash healing increased by 15%. So maybe Holy Priest is going to be back in the game, which is a good thing. Because Holy Priest with like RMP is really good. And it's actually fun to play. And Holy Priest in twos with like a Rogue or a Windwalker, when you're getting in caps on your stun, it's like, because like as a priest, you're not able to actually get there. Like, because if you're just running in for a fear, it takes you like 5 seconds. Because you gotta get Fade out of the way. You gotta get their Death out of the way, even though they can't Death Fear, I don't think anymore. But you know what I'm trying to say. Holy Word, chastise damage increased by 30%. That's pretty useless unless you're using this for a stun. So let's say you're playing with a caster like a Arcane Mage in twos or something. Uh, yeah, this is really good. I mean, 30% damage is like a lot of damage. Smite's damage increased by 30%. So yeah, this is gonna be really good with like a rogue, cause like this guy, your Holy Priest is gonna be pumping out damage. Shadow Word pain damage increased by 15%. That's big buffs. Shadow is getting some Mind Blast damage increased by 10%. Devouring Plague damage. I honestly think it needed a buff. So yeah, this is good. Shadow Inspire Apparition damage increased by 20%. Physical Link now cause direct damage spells to inflict 30% of their damage on all the targets afflicted by a Vampire Touch. Yeah, so this definitely was a needed buff. I was definitely missing out on damage that it needed. Because like if it's getting focus, it just does no damage. And even if it's not, it's like it's still like Affliction. All the other caster specs are just double its damage pretty much. So that's a good buff. Shaman, all healing increased by 5%, not in PvP. So they gave these guys damage, but they really needed like healing, like pure healing, to be honest. So they did get a lot of dam though. I ain't gonna lie. Lava Burst increased by 20%. Flame Shock damage increased by 20%. Lightning Bolt damage increased by 20%. Big buffs here for damage. So if you're playing with the rest of the shop, we're gonna be doing a lot of dam. Arms Warrior, cleave damage, not applied, not applied. I honestly probably thought that a Warrior was gonna get buff. I think Warrior's in the spots where it's S tier just because of Sharpen, but it has like it's again you're just using CDs on their burst, and when they make a class like that, it's too easy to counter. They do a lot of AoE damage, but like Arms Warrior like isn't really an AoE spec anymore. It's based on like okay, I click burst, I'm sitting on this one guy, I need to be able to kill this one guy, and it just can't do it. It's all about okay, well I'm gonna blade storm the entire team, and I'm just gonna sharpen whoever I'm on, and hopefully I do enough damage and with my teammate to kill this guy. Otherwise, you're just going to 80% damage just to be able to sharpen somebody and kill them without them being able to heal. So, Admiral, force that bonus, damage of the train thunderclap. Okay, that's not going to do anything. Protection, don't care. Okay, PP changes. General class special and now gain an additional 35% armor. Okay, that's really good. So I need class spec right now. I thought they should have done it to leather too. So, so all cloth are getting basically armor gain 35%. I don't know how much that's gonna do. I don't know how much. I don't really even know how much armor does. Like, what's the actual full percent of armor? Is the armor like are we? I really don't know, to be honest. Like, how much does a plate armor get? Like, is plate getting 100%, and these guys are at 35%? Are they getting like 40? Or what is plate's armor at right now compared to cloth? Plate specialty classes, or are they the same armor? Just maybe cloth just takes more damage because it's cloth. I don't know. I mean, they can't be the same armor because if they were the same armor, these guys wouldn't be taking as much damage. That's just pretty logical. Plate specialized classes now have their armor reduced. Good. That is perfect. I think plate in general is way too tanky, specifically warriors. That's the one thing they have that's broken. Is they're not killable. Like, unless they're out in the open and they're out of D stance and they don't know what they're doing and they're not just clicking ignore pain off CD and they're not clicking their heal off CD, they're really hard to kill. They're extremely hard to kill. So that's a good nerf. Um, the Gladiator is just two-piece, now increases stamina by 15%, was 5%, so you're getting an extra 10% stamina, so that's not bad. The Gladiator is just in a two-piece. I don't even know what this is for. What is Gladiators? Is that like for a specific? I don't even know. I don't really care. Stamina by 20% for healer rolls. Okay, so a 5% buff for healer for 5%. I think that's for plate. So I think that's like H pals and stuff. So H pals, like, yeah, I'm pretty sure, right? Maybe not. Maybe I'm just like kind of goofy right now. All fear and root effects in PvP may now take 100% more damage before canceling in PvP combat. Okay, the roots is a really bad idea. That's a really bad idea. Because what's going to happen is you're going to get rooted by a druid and they're going to pump you to the full extent before your root breaks. So fear is fine. I think fear should never be breakable. I think unless you're doing actual damage into it, like let's say you have full hots on you and you get feared, it should not break. But if somebody were to come up to you or bleed you again while you're feared, then it should break instantly. But if you're fearing somebody and you have damage on you and they fear you, it should not break at all. However, if they're doing damage to you, like if they use an ability on you while you're in the fear, it should break immediately. That's how that should be. Because like if you're placing an affliction lock or an SP or anything that can bleed, which is every class in the game, then you're really never able to fear. It either sometimes breaks instantly or if it goes. It's really weird how fear works. Because you could pre-sack fear and you'll still sit a full fear because you'll have bleeds on you. So now there's a high chance that you'll have full bleeds on you and you'll pre-sack it, or you'll have something up and you're gonna be wondering why it's not breaking. But they have to be hitting that target that you sacked. Sometimes they don't hit them at all. But we're gonna go to the next one here. PvP player. Okay, we live. Unholy DK. Festering wound damage. Okay, that's a nerf. So it was 195. Now it's 180. So that's a festering wound damage. That's actually pretty good. Even though I didn't think DKs were. I mean, they're good, but they're not like S tier good. Death coil damage is increased by 60% in PvP. 170%. So it's a 10% nerf. Okay, I can be with that. Necrotic wounds now absorbs 3% of healing received from. Okay, so a decent nerf from an Holy DK, which is fine. Druid Moon Conform now increases armor by 100%. This is like a bad move to do. Druid already takes unhealable damage, so that's, yeah, probably a bad play by Blizziante. Moonkin basically doesn't have, like, it's really not playable unless you're very good. Because you're just getting framed by 2 melee, you're never able to play the game, and you're just dying. Like, the moment you come out of form, you're just dead. So that's probably a bad move to do, but it is. Deep Root increases the amount of damage required to cancel entangle roots or mass entangle so it's set by 75%. Okay, so this is getting a nerf, but I think the thing up top cancels what this is, right? So if this is getting buffed by 100% by the roots, and it's from every class in the game, so it's 100%. This got a huge nerf. So this would be 175 compared to 250. So they did still get a nerf, so that's good. Feral Frenzied Regen is no longer decreased. Okay, that's good. Okay, well, we'll see how that goes. That's basically taking off the 20% nerf. So now we'll see how good their healing is. That's only for Feral Druid, though. I think that should be for every spec. I mean, or maybe they didn't nerf every spec with it, but I feel like Frenzy Regen is the worst CD in the game. I feel like it does like 5%, maybe 10%. If you're taking damage, it's not even a CD. Like, you can't even rely on it at all to do any healing. Resto. This is for Resto Druid, I think. Mana regeneration now reduced by 50% was 45%. So I did get a 5% nerf. That's bad. Actually, it's for a Resto Druid, so now their mana is going to go down a little bit. Even though it's counteracting the nerfs that they did up there. Healing Druids by 5%. So Resto Druid did get a nerf. That's good. Mage. Rigid Ice increased the amount of damage required to cancel Frost Nova by 25%. When PvP combat was 80%. Okay, so they're nerfing the amount of that which required to cancel Frost Nova. That's kind of questionable. Because I think Frost Nova shouldn't be able to break. It should be just like Fear. So, or there should be like a certain damage where it's like if you're taking a lot of damage, it should instantly break. But if you're only taking a little bit of bleed damage, it shouldn't break at all. You should sit the entire Frost Nova. But if you're taking damage, if they're hitting you while you're in the Frost Nova, it should break immediately. That should be for every root in the game. You should not be sitting in. You should not be sitting in a root or a stun, or not a stun, but like just a root in general while they're hitting you in the mouth. So let's not do that. Amount of a 4-piece set is no longer okay. I don't really care. Windwalker and Murdristle 2 set is effectiveness is now reduced by 80%. Combat was 60%, so it did get a 20% nerf, which I think is fine. It's not enough to actually nerf Windwalker, really, I don't think. But we'll see. Disc and some 2 set affliction is no longer reduced in PvP combat, so Disc actually got a buff. I don't even remember what their 2 set does, but I'm pretty sure it buffs their penance and their atonement healing or something like that. Sub Rogue eviscerate by 10%. Okay, we saw that already. I already have my opinions on that. Resto Shaman armor reduced by 12%, which is a bad move. Again, Resto Shamans are not tanky. They don't do that much healing. They're pretty decent if you know how to play it, but if like you log on a Shaman right now and you face like a Resto Druid or a Disc or a Mistweaver, you're gonna lose. It's just rough. Or especially if you face like a DH or something, it's just like it's unplayable. Or if you're not able to heal your entire team. It's like if you're facing a caster cleave, you're sitting there, they're all dead, and you're just sitting there trying to spam heal, trying to just go to each one of them and heal. Warlock Nightmare increases the damage of required to cancel fear and people become was 60%. So Warlock got a nerf on their fear. So it was 60% damage that you'd have to take before it would break. Now it's going to be 30%, which is good. Fury, anger management now reduces recklessness. Okay, that's not going to do anything. Let me know if you guys like this video, and if you want to see another video like this. Obviously, I don't do many of these, but I plan on doing a lot more. So just let me know in the comments. Do you like the new nerfs and the new buffs? And let me know what you guys think. Otherwise, enjoy the video, comment for the algorithm, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace, peace.